first Kodu tutorial. In this tutorial we're going to look at some of the icons we can use to navigate in Kodu and also look at how we can create a Kodu and make them move around. So first job is we're going to click on New World to create a new map. You'll notice when you load up a new world you have these icons at the bottom. This first one allows us to go back to the main menu. This button allows me to play the game and run all the programming that I have on my game. This one is a very important one as it allows me to move the camera around. And we're just going to have a look at that one for a moment. If I move my mouse into the middle of a tile and then left click, I can just drag and drop and move the tile around so I can reposition the camera. You'll notice in the top corner there are some other instructions to move the camera. So if I use the mouse wheel I can zoom out, and if I use the mouse wheel push it forwards I can zoom in. These just help us get our camera in the right place so it's easier to play Kodu. If I right click I can rotate the map. Now our next job is to create our first sprite. A sprite is a character in a game. I'm going to click on Kodu and I need to click somewhere on this green tile where I would like Kodu to appear. So I've clicked on that one there and I'm going to click here because I want him to be there. Now I've got lots of options here, but for now I'm just going to select Kodu because that's the sprite I would like to make. And here we have Kodu that has just appeared. Now at the moment I can run my program, but as you can see nothing really happens because I've not programmed any inputs. So when I press buttons on my keyboard I've not told the computer what to do, so at the moment nothing will happen. So I've pressed escape to exit that screen and I need to tell my Kodu to respond to the keyboard commands. I'm going to right click and then left click on program. Now all programming in Kodu works like this. When something happens, I would like you to do something. So what we're going to say is when I press the keyboard keys, more specifically the arrow keys, I would like you to move. So I'm going to click on when the keyboard is pressed, but I need to be more specific than that because I need to say which keys. So I'm going to click on the plus again. When I press the arrow keys, what do I want Kodu to do? Well, I want him to move. Do, move. So now, when I press the keyboard keys, which ones? The arrow keys, then do something, move. So now, if I press escape to get off this screen, and press play again, or I press escape to run the program, if I use the keys, I can now control Kodu around this tiny little tile. So now that we've programmed Kodu to move, let's program Kodu to shoot as well. First thing I need to do is just click on the Kodu icon and then right click on my Kodu. Now that's the move line of code. I need to then create a new line of code to make him shoot. So when do I want him to shoot? This is critical. When do I want this to happen? Well, you need to decide which input you would like to be pressed to make him shoot. I'm going to choose the mouse. And what part of the mouse? Well, I'm going to use the left mouse button. What do I want to happen? I would like him to shoot. Now you can be more specific than that if you click on plus. I'd like to shoot a missile. I would like to shoot a red missile, for example. And now, what this says is, when I press the left mouse button, I would like you to shoot a red missile. Let's try it out. Have a go yourself. Now that you've programmed your Kodu to shoot, you can now create some objects around the map to shoot to make a simple game. To do that I'm going to click on this Kodu icon, I'm going to click a space that I want an object to appear, and I'm going to select an object. Now to start with, I'm just going to select a tree. I'm going to have one of these trees. Now I've created a few of those trees, I can now experiment shooting them. You'll notice at the moment my missiles always go where my mouse is pointing. You can also create AI controlled vehicles. For example, I can create a cycle that is controlled by the computer. Cycles are a good one to choose because they're land vehicles, whereas the air vehicles are harder to shoot. So, I've created one of the cycles, but now I need to program it, because otherwise it'll just stay where it is. Look, when the game's running, he stays where he is because he's not been told to do anything. So what I'm going to do is program him to move. I'm going to right click on the cycle, click program, and I want when something to happen, I want this to be all the time, okay? Always. What do I want him to do? For now, all I'm going to do is make him move, and he's going to wander, which means he's going to move in random directions. Let's see that in action. So now I've created a simple moving target for my shooting game. Why not have a go yourself? Now if you've programmed your Kodu to move, and maybe shoot, you might start to get frustrated with the size of the tile on which you're moving. To make a better level, what you'll need to do is add more tiles. So what I'm going to do is click on the ground paintbrush here. I can click on the icon and you can see there is a large flashing space. I can use this to add more land to my map by left clicking. I can right click to take land away. You might want to zoom out using the mouse wheel or zoom in so you can see your map easier. To make this tile larger, I can press the right mouse key, the right keyboard keys. If I make the smart tile smaller, I press the left keyboard keys and it gets much smaller, so I can make much more intricate maps and designs. If I would like to have a different shape tile, then I click on this button and select a different shape. If I'd like a different colour tile, I click on this button and select a different colour tile. For now, have a go at making a much larger space, different shapes, and exploring those 3 different options. We can then experiment with something else. Now that you've expanded your game map, start to add some more objects to make your game interesting to play again. I'm going to click here and add some trees. I'm also going to add some computer controlled players. I'm going to make one of the wandering cycles I made in previous videos. So when, forever, so always. What do I want them to do? Move, and I want them to wander. So now we have a bigger map and we have the cycle moving around, wandering around, evading my attacks. Now to make the game more exciting, I could add more of these cycles. The easiest way to do that is right click, copy, right click, and then left click on paste. Have a go yourself. We're now going to look at how to create different computer players that respond in different ways. This is sometimes called AI, or artificial intelligence. We've already got one cycle that reacts as follows. He's programmed to always move around in random directions or wander. But let's see if we can create one that's going to respond to our Kodu. So I'm going to create one that's going to follow the Kodu. First create a cycle, right click. So what I'm going to say is when this sprite sees, and what does he see? He sees a Kodu where it needs to be close by. So when you see a Kodu close by, he is going to move towards it. Okay, so this is one type of AI I can program on my cycles. So one of them is going to wander randomly, and one of them, when he sees Kodu close by, he's going to start to follow him. As you can see, as Kodu is close by, the cycle's starting to follow Kodu wherever he goes. Let's create one that instead of following Kodu, now runs away. I'm going to create a cycle. I'm going to make this one red so it's clear which ones are which. Now on the red one, I'm going to program it to say when he sees, and what does he see? He sees Kodu. Where does he see Kodu? I need to click on options. When I see Kodu close by, he is going to move, but he's not going to move towards, he's going to move away. Okay, so let's see that in practice. The red one, when I come close, is going to run away from Kodu. If I keep following him, he's going to keep running away. Following Kodu is one thing, but how can the robot players attack Kodu as well? Well, let's have a look at the lines of code. At the moment, when he sees Kodu close by, he's going to move towards him. Now, we're going to say when he sees Kodu close by, he's going to shoot. He's going to shoot a missile, and he's going to shoot the missile forwards. Okay, so now when he sees Kodu close by, he's going to shoot a missile forwards. Let's see that in action. So as you can see, he's both following the Kodu, and when Kodu is close by, he shoots forwards and attacks it. As you can see, this blue cycle has a line of code that says when he sees Kodu close by, shoot a missile forwards. Now I can actually change the range that is considered close by. This could be a very short distance, or it could be a very large distance. And you can imagine if it's a short distance, then he's not going to shoot as much. If it's a long distance, then he's going to be shooting a lot more often, and it's going to increase the challenge of the game. So the way I do that is I right click on the cycle and click on change settings, as well as having access to changing the speed of the vehicle. If I scroll right down, we can see close by range here. Now this is set usually to much lower. If it's much shorter, then Kodu has to be much closer to be able to trigger this. Or I can set it to nearly 100, which means it'll trigger nearly anywhere on the map. Have a play around at that. It's a good way of making some of the baddies in your game either more of a challenge or less of a challenge to overcome. So now that you've had a play around with Kodu and you've done a little bit of programming, you're probably getting frustrated with the speed at which Kodu moves. Well, actually these are settings that we can change on Kodu himself. So I've selected the object tool and I'm going to just hover over Kodu, right click, and instead of clicking program, I'm going to change settings. And this allows you to change the variables that are set to Kodu, such as speed, such as rate of fire. So if I click on here, it shows me all of these things here. The forward speed multiplier is how fast Kodu can go. So if I turn that right up to maximum, it makes it easier to move around the map. The speed at which it turns, the speed at which he accelerates, and the speed at which he turns. If I turn all of these to maximum, I'll end up with a very fast Kodu. If I set them to a minimum, I'll end up with a very slow, sluggish Kodu. I can also change the maximum number of hit points that Kodu has. This is his health. So if I set it to 1000, Kodu has a lot of health, whereas normally he starts with 50. Now when you're testing a game, you might want to increase all of these so you can play it and test it. But remember that a good game always has a degree of balance, so that it's a challenge for people to play. They don't always win, they just win when they do things in the right way. I can also change the size of Kodu using the scale. I can hold objects at a set distance. When I bounce off objects, I can set how bouncy they are and how quickly I'll bounce back. I can set with blip damage how much damage each shot will do. And also, seeing as I've programmed missiles, I can set the missile damage to maximum. I can reload my missiles faster or slower depending on how I set it. And also set the speed. Have a go with some of the settings, particularly those at the start to do with movement, and see how it affects your Kodu in the game. I've made my Kodu very large, as you can see, and he's moving around much quicker. Once you've played around with Kodu settings, you can also change the settings of some of your AI players. It might be that you have some robots that go much faster and some that go much slower. I change their settings in exactly the same way. By making a robot player quicker, it's going to increase the challenge of the game. If I make them slower, it's going to decrease the challenge. So be mindful of this when you change some of those variables in your own work. Have a go at changing some of the settings on your sprites. So now I've created a simple shooting game, but often in games we have a scoreboard. This helps players keep track of how they're doing. It makes the game more fun. So let's see how we can add points to our game. I'm going to right click on Kodu, click Program. When do I want points to be added? It's a key question. I want points to be added when I shoot one of the cycles. So I'm going to click on More and click on Shot Hit. But I want to be specific and say when I hit a cycle. So when shot is hit a cycle, I could be even more specific than that and say which colour cycles, and different colours could give different points. But I'm going to say when I hit a cycle, I would like to add some points. So I'm going to click on Game, I'm going to click on Plus Score, and I'm going to then click on to select the colour of my scoreboard. So when I shoot a cycle, then the red score goes up by 1 point. So let's see that now. You can see in the top corner that my score has gone up to 1. If I carry on shooting other cycles, my score will increase. Now, traditionally, instead of the game going on forever and ever and ever, I could set an amount that I need to get to by which the game will end. So let's have a look at that now. I'm going to click on right click, Program. I'm going to create a new line. I'm going to say when scored, when the red score equals, let's say 3 points. So when the red score equals 3 points, what do I want to happen? You're going to click on Game, and then you click on Win. Okay, so let's see that in action. And now I've created a game that when I get to a certain point score, then the game is won. Have a go yourself. Of course, adjust the point scores depending on your game. If you've got more cycles or more points, then you might want to have a win condition that means you earn more points. You can set different win conditions in your game. In this game, instead of killing so many enemies and collecting points in that way, instead, Kodu needs to get to a specific point on the map, namely this orange region here. When he gets to that space, then I'm going to program the game so that then he wins. But he has to, along the way, defeat all of these other enemies to be able to get there. So, how can I do that? What I'm going to do is go onto Kodu, I'm going to click on Program, and I'm going to go down to the bottom here and say when, and then I need to click on More, when on land, and I need to be specific. What type of land? When he's on this type of land, okay, I've selected the type, the orange tile, then I would like the game to win. So when he gets there, he will win. And let's see if I can get that without being got. There we go. Have an experiment yourself. Maybe you want a scoreboard, or maybe you want a tile that you need to get to in order to complete your game.